What's up guys, Trent Palmer here, and I'm going to do a bit different of a video today. Instead of just epic flying footage, I'm going to talk to you guys about how to get epic flying footage or make good flying videos. So let's go ahead and roll that intro. I'm Trent Palmer. I fly drones for a living and bush planes for fun. Follow along as I journey off the beaten path of aviation. Alright guys, now this video is kind of coming by popular demand. I've had a ton of comments and messages as to what cameras I use and how I go about shooting these flying videos that I've been posting lately. So I figured this would be a good time for me to go ahead and share my process with you guys and explain how I go about shooting these. Now before I get into the technical side as far as what cameras I use and where I place them and all that and how I go through my whole process from a technical standpoint, I wanted to just talk about the theory of what you go for with these kind of flying videos. Really, it just comes down to storytelling. Now, it might not be a story in the typical sense as far as having a script and plot and all that, but it will be much easier to watch for the viewer because it's not just a whole bunch of random clips put together out of order. So if you can try to build some sort of story and some sort of timeline to your videos, I think that helps a lot, and that's what I try to do with all of mine. And the other thing, I recently switched to more of a vlog style video as opposed to my old flying edits. I used to just do really cool little 3 to 5 minute flying edits that just had flying footage over, say, a music background that would be more of like an action sports style edit. And the reason I switched to the vlog style was to kind of introduce a character and have a little more substance to the video that allows the viewer to come along and feel that they're engaged in the ride a little more than just seeing it from an outside perspective.
Okay, that was
fuel just fleeing out of my vent.
Dude, I was parked on the side of a hill and it was going everywhere.
When I step on the brakes, it all just goes.
That is like, okay, so I don't even think I got any of that on video, but anyway, it's like there's not a rock in sight. It's perfect.
It's beautiful.
So overall, when you're making a video, the idea is to include some sort of story, and it always helps to have a character, whether you're shooting yourself like I do as a vlogger, or if you're maybe a passenger riding along for a friend and you can make the pilot the character. It's always good to have that personality and have some sort of subject in your films. So my process when I approach a video like this, I try to cover kind of a lot of the entire story or the flying experience that I'm sharing with you guys.
This is the story of Ty, huh? Just always fueling.
That's it.
And a lot of it comes down to figuring out what parts of the story I want to tell and how I want to shoot them. And obviously a lot of it comes from my camera I'm shooting on right now that I will bring around to pick up all my little elements, as well as use in my vlog style to talk to the camera and explain the situation and kind of tell some of the story through that. And we left Ty's plane out overnight. He said it'd start fine in the cold.
It doesn't start good in the cold.
This is the camera that I use for my vlog style shots. It's just a Canon GX10. I've got the little bendy tripod on it and then a little mic. And that's the main one that I'm shooting most of my stuff on. Now when I get into the flying footage portion, I have my own little theory when it comes to shooting these and telling a story. And what it is, I think the viewer likes to see 3 things. And really those 3 things could kind of be considered characters of the film. Those 3 things are the plane, the pilot, and the environment. So I try to place my cameras in a way that will highlight each of those 3 things. I do use 3 cameras. I'm actually running these Sony action cams. They're pretty nice. I'm actually interested. I'd like to try out the GoPro 6, but I've been using these because they're what I have. What's also nice is I use this little remote that Sony makes. It is a little actually watch that you can wear that has a screen on it. You can monitor all 3 angles, make sure all your cameras are still working, and when you hit the record button, it triggers all 3 cameras, or as many I guess as you have linked up. Simultaneously, they're all within about half a second of each other sync-wise. So what that allows me to do is I take all those clips into Premiere Pro and I will multi-clip them, which basically syncs them all up, puts them as the same clip, and it makes it really easy to be able to switch between angles, and they're all synced. Also, the main one that I run inside my cockpit, I will run an audio cable into. That just comes off a headset plug right into here. That way you can hear everything basically on my intercom and radio. And that's how I get the talking shots when I'm in the air. One thing I don't love, these cameras do not have an adjustable gain setting for external mics, so that's why you're hearing a lot of humming and my audio quality is a little crappy coming into these, so that's something that I'm working on, maybe running a external recorder or something that I can actually adjust the input levels. Now, when it comes to the airplane mount cameras, it doesn't really matter what brand you use. I think it should be some sort of action style camera, whether it's a GoPro or a Garmin Verb or a Sony Action Cam. But the idea with these is to mount them in a way that cover the three things that I've talked about. I like to have one that shows the plane, which is the one that I put out on the end of my strut. I have it mounted to a little strut mount. I don't know who makes that. I think In-Flight Cam or maybe someone else. I got it some cheap place on Amazon. But anyway, I mount this camera at the end of the strut facing the plane. I try to show myself in the shot as well as all the way from tail of the airplane through the front. And if I can, I try to twist it to where you can see maybe a little bit more of where I'm going than favoring the tail of the aircraft. Also, I like to show the wheels in that shot so you can see the touchdown and when the wheels start rolling and all that. The other angles, obviously I have the one in the cockpit facing me so you can get a little bit of the expressions and see a little bit of the emotions that are going through me while I'm flying. And then the third one is my kind of environment shot, and that's the one that I place on the tail. You know, you can do one just on your wing strut or in your cockpit facing forward, and a lot of people do that. I like those as well. The under the tail just kind of gives me a little added bonus of showing the landing gear when you land, which I always think is kind of cool. And for mounting these cameras, I use these little clamps. They're made by a Small Rig. They're pretty nice. They can just unscrew and clamp to any tube you have on your fuselage. It's really quick, really easy. It's got a 1/4-20 on the top, which I think you could adapt to a GoPro, and then you can loosen it up, and it's really, you can aim it any direction you want, which make them really quick and easy to take on and off, and they're super well built, so I haven't had any problems with them falling off or anything like that. Now, one of the other cameras that I use that I've gotten a lot of comments or compliments on is just my DJI Osmo. It's a little stabilized camera that basically holds the camera perfectly level and straight, and that's the one that I mount behind me on a cross tube right above my baggage area, and that kind of gives the feeling that you're sitting in the cockpit with me, and it's the stabilized horizon, which kind of feels more like what it would look like as you're riding in there. So that's a pretty fun one. I use it's the DJI remote extension cable. It allows you to take the handle portion off of the gimbal and mount the gimbal separately, so you don't have this big handle, you know, dangling behind you. And then also, you can have the handle with the battery up by you. I just set it right next to me in the seat. I can hit record on here without having to reach behind or using the app all the time. So, works as a pretty good setup. I'm sure there's ways to improve it, but it's what I use and what's been working for me. And then lastly, the drone I use that I get a lot of questions about, I'm just using the DJI Mavic Pro. The form factor and how light and compact it is and how easy it is to fly is really the selling point of it. You know, I fly large industrial heavy lift drones for a living, so I have access to, you know, these, you know, super expensive high-end drones, but when it comes down to it, this is the easiest thing I'm going to be able to carry with me all the time in my camera bag and in the plane. So that's the drone I end up using. And you know, the Mavic's really great just because it is so light, so compact, and it has plenty of nice little features that make shooting with it a breeze. I do run a little ND filter on the front. You can probably see it there. That's just to cut down on light so you don't get that staccato effect of really high shutter speeds. But yeah, that's the drone I use. Sometimes I use it to film my friends taking off or landing. Obviously, it's something that I make sure that we have a talk about beforehand, and I'm on a handheld, you know, airband radio, so I can be in communication with them so we know where each other are and what the plan is before we just go jumping into the air. So that's the one recommend I would have. If you're gonna think about shooting flying shots with a drone, make sure that you've gone through your whole plan and process prior to having the manned aircraft take off. Make sure that you're in communication, and make sure that you guys have some sort of plan in effect before you go jumping in the air, and, you know, keep it within your limits. Don't go out and try to be a rock star your first time flying your drone, especially around other manned aircraft. One thing I should mention, I know I have a ton of cameras. I think I roll like 6 different cameras to make these videos, but you really don't have to have that many cameras to make this happen. You can do it all on a little action cam or a GoPro if you want. As far as me having those 3 different angles, it would be something that you could go and say, do a flight with the internal cockpit camera and then go land somewhere, you know, swap to a wing angle or a tail angle and go do it again. Obviously, it won't line up the same way, but you can still tell the same story just using one camera. All right, now I'm trying to think of what else. You know, I try to cover the environment from the ground as well. So I'll take the camera that I'm shooting on right now, and that's the one that I run around with, and try to get a few pieces of the environment and some of the textures. A lot of times I kind of fall short because the people I'm flying with are in a hurry, so I end up not giving it as much time as I should, and then I try to make up the story in the edit. So in an ideal world, I would say
give yourself an extra 5-10 minutes if you're somewhere and you're trying to use that location as part of your video or part of your story. Go out and pick some pieces up there with whatever camera you have, you know, and give it some depth. Get the wide angles that show the whole area. If you're at an airport, show the FBO, show where you're parked, show the other planes in the area, and then go get some detail stuff. You know, if there's any textures or little fixtures or ornaments or anything that would make that location unique, I try to just go and show those, highlight them, get the ones that are really nice close-up macro type shots, as well as the wide ones that just show placement and the whole feel of the area. And one other little quick tip, whenever possible, try to shoot in the first or last hour of light during the day. That's what we call magic hour or golden hour, and it's just when everything looks prettier and all your footage is going to look a lot nicer if you can shoot right around sunset or right around sunrise. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I know this video went on longer than I expected, but I hope it helps you guys that are looking to get into making videos like I do, or even if you're already making videos. Hopefully I shared a little tip or two that might help improve your videos or make your process a little easier. So make sure, if you haven't, hit that subscribe button, be my wingman, join in the adventure, and we will see you guys on the next one.